On this episode of the Ohio Pension Playbook, I'm going to cover the top 3 questions that I get when meeting with Ohio public employees. Hi, Todd Garneau here with Three Creeks Capital. I've been working with Ohio public employees for over 20 years and have heard many questions over the years. I'm going to focus on 3 questions that I get virtually every single time I meet an Ohio public employee and what they're concerned about as they approach retirement. Let's get started. Okay, what's the top question? How much should I leave as a survivor benefit? This is a really important question. And the main reason is, you'll see in some of my other videos, this is the #1 mistake that everybody makes. So how much should I leave my spouse, my partner, whoever, as your primary beneficiary on a monthly basis? I go into much more detail on another video. Take a look at that as a way to kind of map out how much you should be leaving that survivor. This is really, really important because this is an irrevocable decision. Once you decide on your retirement application how much you're leaving that person, you cannot go back and redo it. So this is something that you need to get right. So this is the #1 question that I get from potential retirees. The next question that I always get is, how will Social Security impact my retirement income? Now, we know as of January 2024, the WP and GPO, Windfall Elimination Provision, Government Pension Offset, was repealed, which is great. So how this impacts you is really important. And the main reason is you're going to have additional income that if you were planning retirement 10 years ago, you did not take into consideration. So this is both while you're alive and when your spouse passes away under the GPO, you would have access to more Social Security dollars than you had in the past. So the question I always get here is, how much is it going to be? When should I take it? Why? Why do I delay? Why do I wait to a certain age? And there are strategies around this so that you can maximize your Social Security not only for yourself, but also your spouse upon death. So this is really something that we want to get right because, again, once you start taking that Social Security benefit, you really can't turn it off. So we want to be sure you get this part right. And of course, last but not least is the PLOP or drop. Okay, so for those of you in OPERS and STRS, everybody always asks me whether or not they should take a PLOP. And then those of you that are in the drop already, it's how long should you continue to drop, and then what do you do with that money afterwards? So let's address this question that I always get. Can I afford to take a PLOP is the main thing that I think about. And so people will come in here, will look at their pay stub, will look at their net benefit from the pension after they've chosen their joint survivor, and healthcare, federal and state tax. And then we decide, okay, yes, you can afford to take a PLOP. And then from there, we decide on how much. So the key here first is, can you afford the reduction in your monthly income? And keep in mind, this is a permanent reduction, which also reduces your COLA. So main thing that I want you to think about here is, when you take that PLOP, what do you do with it? If you take it all as cash, hey, I'm going to pay off the house, some debt, that's all income. That's usually very it's definitely something you don't want to do unless you really have to, because you're going to pay much higher taxes than you normally would. This would be something where it gains you a little more liquidity, maybe reduces your benefit from a tax strategy standpoint, but in general, this has to be an affordability question. Again, irrevocable once you make this decision, so we got to get this right. And this goes really to the plop and the drop is, what do I do with it? Most of the time, we have people roll it into an individual retirement account that stays pre-tax, and then we get invested properly based on their risk and performance that they're looking for in order to pursue those goals that they have in retirement. So again, I have videos on each one of these and how to address them in more detail. But these are the top 3 questions that I get almost daily from Ohio public employees. Feel free to reach out to us with your questions. We're here to help and ensure that you're making very thoughtful retirement decisions as you approach this time period.